My speech is about digital innovation in Central Bank of Georgia, but I will be focusing more on CBDC projects. But since it's a kind of broader speech, I'll touch some strategic aspects of our activity. To give a little bit of context, why CBDC is a platform and why mainly we focus on competition angle, because banking sector is quite developed in Georgia. Actually, it's one of the key sectors which has been developed after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Especially two banks, TBC Bank and Bank of Georgia, are doing a good job, including expanding regionally. And I sometimes say that they have kind of competitive advantage compared to other incumbents in developed countries, because their processes, their servers, people are as young as our independents, so they can absorb innovation quite a speedy manner, like big fintechs. And in these circumstances, with the infrastructure projects like open banking, open finance, regulatory sandbox experimentation, CBDC as a platform, we aim to create playing field for newcomers, new entrants to the market. And that's why CBDC is a platform. Actually, it's a story how we are able to transition from why CBDC to how CBDC. I will walk through of our thinking process and our activities, and how we differentiate. I would say is that we made this journey with the minimum resources, only 2 employees. We are full-time involved in this project, and we get quite useful learnings across the way, and I'm going to share this today. Of course, we had challenges along the way to come up with the solid, rational business case. CBDC is untested technology, difficult to pick the underlying technology. In short, lots of unknowns along the way. And key motivations as a small country. Wake-up call for small countries was Libra announcement a few years ago. Fortunately or unfortunately, lots of Georgians are still addicted to social media, and it is quite easily understandable if global stablecoin comes up, whether it will be affecting negatively or not to our currency sovereignty. That was one of the key motivations to start experimentation and researching in this field. But we spent a lot of time coming up with the solid business case and convincing ourselves that was kind of why part of our journey. Skeptics about CBDC would say that it's a solution in search of a problem, and we tried to find problem during our exploration and not be trapped in this dogma. What you see here is a use case matrix, which is often used in business strategy while introducing new products or new services by startups or established companies. And it answers question what is valued by consumer, whether the new use case, whether the new product is consumer pain point oriented. And here we visualize in short term, mid-term, and long term our thinking process of bringing this framework into CBDC domain. You see here in the middle of this chart, T1 use case under technology enabled use cases, which is atomic settlements. which is not so much valued by consumer. That's why it is in the middle of the value curve. You can imagine in a long-term situation, then Internet of Things is a reality. Your smart refrigerator is connected to the nutritionist prescription. Nutrition is prescribed healthy food, and this healthy food reached acceptable limit in your smart refrigerator, and smart refrigerator gives instant signal to delivery company, and your foods are delivered. So lots of financial and non-financial transactions are happening in the future. Then Internet of Things and the related payments infrastructure is becoming a reality. And there is a promise that blockchain and underlying atomic settlements technology could serve this kind of reality in a better way compared to current infrastructure. But if you would ask 10 people in the streets of Tbilisi, 9 would say out of 10 that this use case is not relevant for them to serve any pain points, any current pain points. That's why it is in the middle of the value curve, not so much prioritized by us as of today. But to contrast with this, we have a short-term use case for early adopters, which you can find under smart contracts as free, which means that it is more valued by consumer, and use case is about selling property acquisition via smart contracts. The best alternative today is escrow accounts served by big banks. It's not expensive, it's quite expensive, as well as not all risks are fully minimized with this alternative. So with this strategy, we would build our marketing strategy of selling CBDC as a concept to the end user on the added value of this use case. And there is no need to come up with the additional marketing strategy, but to have visualized added value of the future financial system compared to the existing alternatives. So this is our thinking process, which visualize our short-term vision of this technology as well as long-term vision when kind of futuristic reality of Internet of Things is in place, and we want it to be early in the game. That's why we invested in this research. Also, in our case, it's quite important to have strategic fit with the overall fintech development strategy of prioritizing this kind of projects. We have 3 pillars in our strategy, fintech development strategy. Number 1 pillar is regulatory-driven innovation. Examples could be our open banking and open finance, when we have regulatory-driven open banking framework in place and now transitioning to open finance use cases. Or other example could be digital bank licensing process, when we require 10 times less capital for newcomers to the digital banking field than for ordinary banks. But besides this, we have 2 other pillars in our strategy. Second pillar is related to the infrastructure. Of course, we update our RTGS system. We make investments in instant payments, but strategy is art of focus with the limited resources. And we also invest in R&D of untested technologies like blockchain with this project. That's our second pillar. And the third pillar in our strategy is building ecosystem and building beyond Georgia ecosystem. Since we are quite small country and market is already quite competitive and concentrated, as I mentioned already, our commercial banks expanding regionally. That's why our message to fintech investor is to come up to Georgia and think about wider expansion from Georgia. And we are the one of the first central banks in our region who actually coupled fintech and ongoing positive trends in real economy, which is middle corridor because of geopolitics. Trade is coming to this part of the Silk Road, and our strategy is that this trend could be even more accelerated if underlying financial technology serves the real economy, because you can transit goods from Kazakhstan to Georgia in 3 days, but with the current financial system still wait for payments next 10 days, or have pain points in trade finance. So, other examples, since we are at Digital Euro Conference today, could be that last year Euro celebrated 25 years of existence, and one of the board members of Digital Euro said the following: in 25 years we can trade freely within the EU, we have no barriers of trade, but when it comes for paying of this trade, Euro arrived nowhere in 25 years. And since blockchain is quite disruptive technology, it's by nature technology-driven innovation, it has potential to be really disruptive, and it opens opportunity window for less developed countries, for developing countries. And that's why we are thinking about coupling these projects with ongoing middle corridor trend. That's kind of fit with the strategic vision, how this project fits in it. It took us 3 years to make the why analysis and to contextualize for our context this vision, and it took us 3 years to come up to this one pager. And one pager is about having balance between solution obsessed versus problem obsessed, which means that regulators are kind of innovators shoes in today's reality, and big mistake they make during introducing open banking other infrastructure is that their solutions, their APIs are less oriented to the real pain points. That's why it's quite important to be balanced between solution obsession and problem obsession. That's why we spent lots of time about contextualizing and answering why questions. Then bottom-to-up approach. We don't have a digital financial inclusion problem in Georgia. Financial infrastructure is quite developed. And in difference of other countries which also explore CBDCs, we don't have one strategic reason whether we are exploring it for financial inclusion reason or not. But how we looked to this was we picked up promising technologies like smart contracts, tokenization, atomic settlements, and mapped with the most relevant use cases for Georgian case, which could be tax collection, which could be serving our immigrant-rich population, which could be making payments for merchant acquirings more affordable for few merchants. So when you aggregate from bottom to up, actually you get mix of rationales from financial inclusion to competition. Stakeholder-centric approach in our thinking process was very important to convince stakeholders to onboard, since we are selling in good sense this idea as a platform for experimentation to newcomers to the market. And in long term, we are not stick to any business model. And you see in the future slides that the knowledge we have accumulated during the pilot and testing actual technologies, we are now using for regulatory sandbox for tokenized deposits as well. So we are looking through industry development lenses and using this knowledge for other use cases which might be more widespread because of geopolitics of fintechs and because of global trends. I mentioned that we are managing these projects with only two full-time employees. And of course, we had lots of limitations. We had limitations from knowledge to finding financial resources and technology development resources for the platform. We took quite a risk-averse approach from the beginning to avoid internal bureaucracy of central banking. What we did actually, we find technology service provider, which is quite a big name globally, and then we had minimum connection of their infrastructure to our critical infrastructure to stay risk averse and to have no connections with our operational risk and information security infrastructure, and also to avoid internal bureaucracy. As for use cases, our objective was kind of to do a modeling exercise, which means simplification of reality. For example, number one use case for us was salary disbursements for our own employees. So we would test programmability feature with this use case. We were able to onboard more than 200 employees of central bank for the experimentation, and the feature, technological feature we have tested for the use case in a wider world could be extrapolated to automatic tax collections, for example. Could be extrapolated to transparency funding. So our aim was, with the minimum resources, to actually create sandbox environment and test those technologies, which could be simplification of the future reality for number one use case. Second, to onboard more employees and more stakeholders, we introduced the use case on commemorative tokens. Collectible tokens, collectible coins are quite popular in Georgia. Georgians are quite gaming-oriented people in good sense, and we played on this. The game was regarding collecting different collectible tokens, and if you were able to collect 6 different collectible tokens, you would be granted one actual collectible token, and it's played well. We had so-called internal champions within the different departments who would spread the game across the colleagues, and this way we achieve participation of more than 200 colleagues in our game. It was quite a good experience. Third use case we tested in a limited scope was related to real estate acquisition on our CBDC platform. And we actually mimicked the actual process with the involvement on national public registry for real estate. And this way we get them on board, other stakeholders from the government. We made this use case for them interested. Same applies to our experimentation on tokenized government bonds. We were able to onboard Ministry of Finance in this experimentation. What played also well is dedicating resources to trainings and blockchain education. Our technology service provider was Ripple, alongside with EPAM, which is big technology company, and we devoted lots of senior management resources and technical resources, educating our employees, and creating a learning environment as first step of the experimentation. These are testing results for each use cases, from payroll processing, commemorative tokens, real estates, and government issued tokenized bonds. Lessons learned so far are following. We were able to onboard minimum practitioners. We were able to onboard couple of big banks on this experimentation, stakeholders like Ministry of Finance and Public Registry for Real Estate, and created this sandbox environment with the participation of different stakeholders. And looking ahead and industry developments, overall sentiment around CBDC, we are now putting this learning in tokenized deposits in parallel of our experimentation. We just announced the regulatory sandbox for tokenized deposits 3 weeks ago, received quite an interest from local players as well as from international players, currently reviewing their application. One of the early learnings from the application is lack of knowledge of big picture, how they these applicants can use this opportunity to experiment on tokenized deposits beyond only experimenting on tokenized deposits, rather than experimenting on technology and building new business lines and new value chains for their existing companies. And we are sharing our knowledge via our innovation office, which we have accumulated during CBDC experimentation with our tokenized deposits applicants currently. So this is our story about